Welcome, everyone. So, AI is booming right now. We have NVIDIA hitting an insane $4 trillion dollars of market cap. We have Meta dropping $100 million dollars in contracts. And we have many in the industry believing we could see AI superintelligence in just a few years. But what if, even with all of this, there's still a dot-com bubble in the making? I believe that there's a few factors that could cause this AI gold rush to come crashing down. My name is Sunny Cotwall. I'm a machine learning engineer, and let's dive in. It is amazing what we can accomplish with the models of today. From ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, you have multiple incredible models that you could choose from. You can do full-on videos from something like VO3. You can have full independent agents take over your entire workflow. And let's not forget about Grok here. Who's going to solve the birth rate crisis other than anime waifus?
Hey, Sunny, what's up? So I figured I'd throw some love your way under these stars.
So, as incredible as these models are already, it's really when looking at the stock market and seeing how tolerable they are at the billions of dollars spent and soon to be trillions. It's a bet that this will be so game-changing and bring in so much money that this is fine, that it's going to make up for it more than enough. And the problem arises when expectations don't mean reality. When looking at something like the dot-com crash, it's clear that the internet changed our lives. But things got overhyped so fast that the NASDAQ dropped 80%. The same thing could happen again with AI. So don't get me wrong here. I believe that AI is going to do incredible things. My fear is that we're going to see, again, a big hype cycle before things actually work out. Ilya Sutskever, one of the most influential voices in AI, made headlines late last year basically saying, if we continue to scale compute and data and primarily consume the internet, we're going to hit a plateau, dubbing this the fossil fuel of AI. Essentially, there's only one internet, and we have basically exhausted it. I also want to emphasize, although scale was a primary driver of these early large language models, there have been many other breakthroughs. One prime example is reasoning models, where using a technique called chain of thought, they are extending their thinking and questioning conclusions. So although we're seeing innovations in the space, the easy exponential growth seems to be past us. And it's only going to get more difficult and more costly to continue to see success. Let's start with the training of ChatGPT 4. This is a giant 1.7 trillion parameter model, and researchers estimate that this could have taken up to 100 megawatts of energy. To put it in perspective, this is enough energy for a small town for an entire day. And again, this is just for training. Now, live with the amount of users ChatGPT currently uses, it will take about 1 terawatt hour per year. This is the annual energy used by small nations. Now scale that across every other cloud server using all these various LLMs, and the numbers just get ridiculous. The International Energy Agency projects that data center power could be up to 1,000 terawatt hours by 2030, a doubling in 5 years. When we're looking at the infrastructure for these data centers, the cost is staggering. We're already set to spend hundreds of billions of dollars every year right now, where McKinsey is even projecting a $7 trillion investment by 2030. These are staggering numbers. And right now, with the combination of big tech and governments, it's feasible for now. But even for these giant entities, there are going to be figures that are just too large to continue pushing forward. Investors are throwing cash around like crazy. In just the first 6 months of 2025, we already have more VC money put up than all of 2024. And evaluations are something we need to keep track of. When you look at an OpenAI at 300 billion, a Anthropic at 150 billion, These are crazy numbers for startups that are still unprofitable, even with the scale they're already at. And then in the broader market, we're seeing tech IPOs fly, with the most recent example of Figma jumping an insane 250% day one. Taking it back to the .com analogy, there were a ton of IPOs that were completely over-evaluated, and this is one of the biggest triggers to the eventual bust of that era. Right now, there have been very few tech companies IPOing in this period, so it's a relatively safe thing. The few that have been blowing up, but it's really if this pattern starts exploding and more companies quickly jump into this that we have to really watch out. And finally, there's a lot of disconnects between the broader economy and the stock market, especially when you look at effectively the release of ChatGPT, which was late 2022. When you're looking at the S&P and just target the top 10 companies, the growth of these 10 companies effectively pull up the entire index, where the bottom 490 companies are basically flat for the next 3 years. So where does this leave us? We have a data wall problem, and I think this is best exemplified with the recent drop of ChatGPT 5, where it's still a little too early, but it does seem to be just a incremental step forward and not a giant leap. We have the electricity data center infrastructure build out. We're going to see electricity globally potentially double in the next few years. And one of the biggest problems, the US is really poor at expanding its infrastructure. So I do not have a lot of faith in us doubling our grid in just a few years. And then finally, the economic mirage created by all this spending in general and how much VCs are outputting, how much big tech is outputting. Basically, the revenue has to at some point be worth all this expenditure. And the good thing is big tech is making a lot of money in a lot of different areas. So they have the capital to spend. But eventually, this revenue has to be coming from AI directly. And it really feels with all the flashing red lights in all the directions of the stock market that aren't AI, that AI is the only thing holding it up. I do think in the long run, everything relatively works out. The next few years are going to be highly unpredictable and just very difficult to navigate at times. For anyone that made it this far, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Don't try to